Hello, welcome back to my channel, IndieAuthor Jill. Today we are looking at Afterlife Inc. Um, so, um, Rosie, the teenager, is involved in a school shooting, and so Death has to go collect her and the three staff members that were also um, shot and killed in this whole thing. And when he prints out the tickets, um, Rosie's for some reason won't uh, her ticket won't print for one reason or another. And so uh, he tells her, okay, we can get this fixed out back at Afterlife Inc. Just follow me, stay close to me. He says, Hades isn't very observant anyway, so not a problem. Just stick close to me and try to blend in, okay? And so they go through all the things, and they've met several people, and they finally get through the gate, and the three staff members are processed. And then he goes through the staff door with Rosie, and Rosie's like, I'm staffed now. And he's like, don't worry, you do not want to work here. And so while he's trying to figure out how to get his ticket printer worked out, um, he ends up having to take Rosie along with him, and he tells her, just tell anybody that asks that you're the new work experience girl." And she's like, "Okay, whatever you say." So he kind of shows her around a little bit, and she's like, "This whole system is like wackadoodle," and he's like, "It is what it is, though," and so he takes her on a couple of his runs, and she's kind of annoyed because she feels like people are dying who um shouldn't, and like she's like, this isn't fair. And he's like, yeah, there's no fair, there's no justice, there's just me, you know. And she she's not she's not buying it, she's like, there's got to be a way to change this. And he's like, I don't have a choice in the matter. And she's like, well, that doesn't seem right, because we all have choices in the mortal world. You adults are always telling us to make choices and take responsibility for our actions, but when it comes time for you guys to make choices and take responsibility for your actions, it's all, well, it's not my choice, and it's not in my control, and somehow it's different for adults, but it's not okay for kids and teenagers to not take their responsibility and their uh, a responsibility for their choices and actions. And so she starts basically telling him, something's got to be changed. There's got to be a change. This can't just be allowed to stand. And so Death keeps taking her on these trips, and he's like getting more and more frustrated with her, because he's like, I. She's like, how can you just go ahead and kill her? And he's like, I'm not killing her. She's dead before I get here. It's not my job to kill somebody or decide they shouldn't die. It's my job to collect the souls after they die. I wouldn't be here if they weren't already dead. I didn't kill them. You didn't kill them. Nobody killed them. And so somebody made this decision. Somebody decided that this person needed to die and this person needed to die in this way. Who makes that decision? And he says, well, it's complicated. It's not just one person. And she's like, there's got to be somebody who signs off on it. And she's like, he's like, there's there's really not, there's like, it's a process. Everybody's got departments. You got this person who works in accidents and whatnot, and they have a quota to fill. And there's this person that works in diseases, and they've got a quota to fill. And this one, you know so not just one person makes all the decisions of who dies and who doesn't die. There's different departments, and they decide. And then, and she's like, well, then somebody's got to sign off on it. No, nobody's just making these decisions willy-nilly, right? And he's like, well, no, there is someone who signs off on it. And so as she's going through Afterlife Inc., she's realizing that there is a system, and it is out of date, incredibly out of date. And so she goes about trying to convince Death, she's trying to learn. She starts kind of trying to learn a little bit about the system as he's trying to print her out her tickets and everything. He does get a new scanner. Um, he takes his other ones to his what he takes his the scanner that wouldn't print her a ticket. He takes that to uh, Afterlife's IT tech guy or whatever, and he kind of tests it and everything. He says it seems to be working fine, and he says, "Well, it's not because it's not printing out tickets." He said, "Do you have a replacement?" He says, "I do you one better. We actually got the new model in." The author A.M. Riley points out that it is the book is not meant to offend. She's not really overly religious herself. There is God and Satan in the book who get mentioned, and she points out that in the um, not the prologue, the preface, uh, she tells them uh, that this may not be a book for everyone, and she's right because uh, the humor, as she said, the humor is irreverent, and dark. The intention is never to has never been to offend. It does, however, contain some themes which some people might find offensive, because there's always one, isn't there? The intention of the story has always been to entertain and perhaps to invoke some introspection on the topic of death and the afterlife. Um, that it does contain she one of the rooms one of the things that she sees on her tour is she finds out that there's a special room where the Hindu and Buddhist go that is separate from it where everybody else goes because of their belief in a reincarnation. And again, she's not trying to be offensive. If you can tell by the writing that she's not trying to be offensive. She's trying. It's just it's all in good fun. Um, and like she points out, there's no indication that the afterlife is as she has laid out. I certainly think it's funny that Death at one point talks about having to go to HR to talk about his unpaid overtime, and that there's there is some sort of currency in the afterlife. Um, I also think it's funny that he's telling when they get into talk, because Rosie's only 14 when she's killed. Um, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you get to go." He says, "You're only 14." He says, "You probably haven't done anything bad enough to go to hell. You're probably going to go to heaven and see your mom and see your grandfather, and you'll get to frolic in meadows with them." And she's like, "Frolic in meadows?" And he's like, "Yeah, frolic. Have you never frolicked?" And she's like, "No, I don't frolic." And he's like, "Oh, kid, you haven't lived." And she's like, "Yeah, I died at 14, remember?" And he's like, "Oh, sorry." you know, uh, but yeah, I think it's humorous to think of an afterlife where they're working and they all have a job to do, and sure, okay, fine, they all have a job to do, but I think it's funny that there is a bit of currency, and then everybody's complaining about their pay, or that they're like, oh yeah, the pay is nice, and they're like, what are you getting paid in? What is this afterlife currency? Um, and nobody he says nobody he points out that the elevator he says the elevator either takes forever or doesn't take long at all. I'm not exactly sure which, because time doesn't really exist here, so nobody's really worried about how much time anything takes because, well, we've got eternity, you know. um the his I like his so he's got the he's got an interesting relationship or non-relationship with the ferry driver, and at one point he's walking away from the ferry driver, and the ferry driver says, "See you soon." And he says, "Probably not if I'm being honest." And the ferry driver says, "Since when are you honest?" And he's like, "I'm trying something new." you know? Um, but he starts to realize that there's something weird or different about Rosie than there is anybody else he has brought to the afterlife. And I can't say much more than that because then it'll it'll spoil it, and I don't want to spoil it. I want you to read it. It's a fun book. I enjoyed it. I will say that despite the cartoonish title, maybe don't give this to just any random like child. Now, if you don't care what your kid reads, and listen, I'm not judging you if you don't. My kid read my stepson for my first marriage, and even my stepdaughter for my first marriage. I did not police what they read because I figured I'd built enough of a relationship with them that if they um, had any questions or they had any thoughts about it, and my stepdaughter especially was usually the kind that would come and talk to me and ask me about. She would tell me about the book she's reading and ask me about different things. But so I'm not going to sit here and tell you, uh, pay attention to what your kids are reading, or I never did. Um, but some people are more mindful of what their kids read. This does have a lot of cussing in it. It has minor sexual innuendos. Um, maybe not so minor with the janitor. Um, no, actually, never mind. The very first person that dies is not even a minor sexual innuendo. It is just blatantly, yeah. So yes, there is sexual content. There is cussing. Um, so I would read it before you give it to your kid if you're concerned about what your kid reads. Um, other than that, have fun. I enjoyed it. It's a short read, as you can see. Um, but it's a fun read, and I absolutely enjoyed it. And if you are doing Her Kid 3.0, this works for your bookception uh, bingo card square. So, for those of you who didn't have a bookception uh, read, there you go. A nice short read, and the other book that would go along with it is Mort by Sir Terry Pratchett. Um, so, um, as usual, I will leave a link in the description below. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. And if you don't know what to comment and you just want to let me know you were here, then just comment the emoji of the skull and crossbones for Mr. Death here. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye.